brought forward again, that we could readily put together a committee again, if necessary? Like if all of a sudden it exploded and...
Councillor Underwood.
May I speak for the committee was there to look at opportunities of being able to minimize the effects of all this thing that was going on with the minimum amount of cost and minimum amount of effort, quite honestly, and I think we came out with a really good ending to it. And quite honestly, if there are any problems that come up anywhere in Lambton Shores, first they should be talking to the councillors, which is a recommendation, and we'll bring it up and we'll be talking to the bylaw people. We've got extra funds there. That should take care of it. Otherwise, we'll be striking a committee for every single thing that happens. So we covered it all pretty well.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Yes, 7:10. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the council meeting and open a public meeting for an official plan amendment application OP2 2013 and the zoning bylaw amendment application 04-2013 for Mike Van Kessel, 7606 and 7580 Townsend Line. Councillor Scott, second by Councillor Russell. All in favor of that? Okay, we are now in a public meeting under the official plan amendment, and I would ask the planner to go through the planning report and any correspondence that has been received.
The applications before council tonight are to create a surplus non-farm dwelling lot, which allows the severance of a dwelling which is surplus to a farmer's need to allow him to sever it from a farm parcel. Certainly Mr. Van Kessel qualifies as a farmer. He has recently purchased a farm and merged it with another piece of property that he owns. There is a dwelling on the farm which he would like to dispose of. He already lives on another farm, so he does not need it. Of course, the Lambton Shores official plan does not permit this. It's permitted by the provincial policy statement. I have done a site inspection, and one of the requirements in the provincial policy statement is that there are no animal operations that might affect the non-farm surplus dwelling lot. There are none in the area that would affect it. And secondly, the provincial policy statement requires that the farm parcel, the remnant farm parcel, be zoned so that no new dwelling can be constructed upon it. And that's what the rezoning has been applied for these farm parcel. We did receive a letter from Corrine Nada advising that she had already done a septic inspection on the property and was satisfied with the septic. We also had a letter from Patty Heyman, the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, identifying that a portion of the land, in particular a portion of the lot proposed to be severed for the dwelling, was subject to flooding, but she was satisfied with that the existing dwelling had been constructed on the highest part of the property, and she has no concerns from a natural hazard or a natural heritage perspective. I can recommend council approve these applications in principle, subject to the surplus farm dwelling being connected to the municipal water main as is required by our official plan policies. And also, you might have noted that the surplus farm dwelling lot is a little bit larger than normal. There is a creek that traverses the property right near the front, and basically it was felt by Mr. Van Kessel and myself after speaking before he submitted the applications that represented a reasonable severance line, in that it's hard to farm small parcels after there's pieces taken off. So I can again support the size of the non-farm dwelling lot.
Okay. The applicant have it here, or do you have anything to add to those comments?
No.
Okay. Anyone from the public here wish to speak to the application? Anyone from the public? Any questions from council? Councillor Cook.
Were there any concerns regarding the septic not showing on the survey back?
No, We'll show that on the survey when it comes to the Committee of Adjustment for the consent. It will be shown then.
Should that be part of the recommendation or not?
No, we can deal with that through the Committee of Adjustment conditions on the consent.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Day?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question, Mr. Van Kessel, through you. Mr. Van Kessel, do you have any reservations with connecting to the water line?
Well, you know what, I do have some questions, and I wonder, I understand if it's a requirement, you know, and we can live with that, but there is an existing well there that the family has been using. Our plan is to sell the property back to the previous owner, and the existing water well that's there has been functioning fine and working well, and I do question to a certain degree whether it would be necessary to hook up to the water line when there is, you know, an existing well there that has good water and that the family has been using for a long period of time.
And a quick follow-up, is it the family's understanding, since they had owned it previously, that it wasn't, according to the negotiations with the rural people, that it wasn't a requirement that they would have to connect to the water line?
It was, I was made aware of that. And I thought I would just ask the question, but you know what, I'm not going to press the issue. I just wonder, you know, about spending more money here, you know, to do this when there is a good, viable water supply there. You know, I'm asking the question, but I'm not, you know, bound to it, and you know, maybe there could be a little debate on that.
It's very reasonable, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Russell?
So, you heard Mr. Van Kessel and you heard the deputy say what he said, and I'm not sure exactly what the inference was. But anyways, I got asked through you to the planner. Is the law that when we do a severance now that they must hook up? Or you're recommending that they should be conditional? Is it the law that they do?
Our official plan directs that, and we have already had discussions at council on that, and council has not changed that policy.
You have a follow-up?
Yes, if I could. Obviously, council has had this discussion, and we came to the conclusion that it warranted some additional input from the rural people, and that is in process. Because there's obviously a misunderstanding here about what was promised and what was ultimately implemented. And yes, there was a mandatory pay requirement to the rural people, but there was not a mandatory connection at the time. That was the understanding of the rural people. However, when the bylaw was passed in December of 2009, just before Christmas, it actually required them to connect. So that's the problem. And so my perspective on this type of situation is that, yes, it should be approved in principle according to the other conditions that are shown here. But until that issue is resolved, I don't think council can require an individual like Mr. Van Kessel to actually connect to the water line. So I would make I guess I can't make a motion until the public meeting is over, but I will in due course make a motion that says that if I'm permitted, that it should be approved in principle subject to the other conditions, but that not subject to the condition that they connect to the water line at this point.
Any other questions? Councillor Scott?
Just through you to the deputy mayor, have we had other incidences where we've had them hook up? Like, maybe that's through you to the planner. Have other farms had to hook up?
Yes.
So
They've
this,
either been connected or they've been required to connect. Because that's our policy.
Okay. If there's no other comments or questions, I would ask that we close the public meeting. Councillor Scott, Councillor McGuire, all in favor of that? Carried, the public meeting is closed. And it's 7:19. Can we deal with this in a minute, or do we want to go on to the next public meeting? Deputy Mayor Day?
Yes, I'm going to make my motion that that council does approve this recommendation with the recommendations that with the conditions that are included here, except that this farm dwelling be connected to the rural water line due to the fact that there is serious question hanging over this issue and it needs to be resolved